Hi everyone, Suzanne here. I hope you're all well and welcome to Sew Custom. Today I'm uploading two videos. This one, which is how I patterned the collar for this little number, and the second, which I shall link below, is how I sewed it up. But if you're interested in seeing how I patterned the collar, then let's get started.
So for the base pattern for this one, I'm using a pattern I've already showed on video before. I shall leave it linked below. The only changes I've made is to give myself a bit of a placket at the back and to tighten up the neck slightly. So now for the collar. So I've got a fresh piece of paper underneath my back pattern piece, and I'm lining up my front pattern piece with my back at the shoulder on top of my fresh paper. I'm making sure that I'm lining up at the seam rather than at the seam allowance. I'm just pinning that in place. And now to start the collar, I've given myself a little mark 5mm down from the centre front at the neck. And I'm just tapering from that 5mm point back to the neck again. Just slightly up the neck, probably only about 2 inches. That's just going to help the collar roll a little bit underneath at the front. And for the width of my collar, I want it to be 2 inches wide. So I'm just measuring 2 inches from the neck, remembering that I have a 1cm seam allowance there. So I'm measuring the 2 inches from the seam allowance. And I'm measuring from the front neck right round over the shoulder to the back neck. And now I need to outline the outer edge. So I'm just tracing around the bodice neck, the centre front of the bodice at the collar, and then I'm using my tracing wheel for the inner edge and for that little adjustment on the front neck. And lastly, for the centre back of the collar, removing my bodice pieces and then marking in my trace lines. And now just to add my seam allowance, remembering again that I have seam allowance on the inner edge already of the collar. So I just need to add in seam allowance to the outer edge. So 1cm along the centre back, along the centre front, and along the outer edge of the collar. And labelling. So this is my Peter Pan collar, and I shall cut 4 of them. Now I could leave the collar as it is, but I want to round off the centre front. So I'm just using one of my pattern weights and just tracing around that corner, giving it a nice smooth curve, adjusting my seam allowance there and cutting out. And that is this collar complete. And this is how it looks on the bodice. So it should all fit perfectly on top of the bodice. Done! And once it's sewn up, this is how it looks. For this one, I've added a little bit of piping just to highlight the collar a little bit more on the blouse. But this pattern is super quick, super easy, and can be added to any bodice, just to give it a little bit of a refresh.
So I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you've not yet subscribed, please do, and I shall see you guys in my next one. Until then, I hope you have a fantastic week. Bye folks!